I did $206,784 in a single day on my Shopify store. No, it's actually not clickbait. It really happened. The crazier part is that I was on vacation in Mexico when it did happen. It was kind of unexpected, but kind of made sense at the same time. In fact, here's the proof. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how I did more sales in a single day than most Shopify store owners do in an entire year, and how it can really be quite attainable to you if you're smart about how you approach your business and the lessons we learned along the way. Because even if you don't do $206,000 in a day, there's a lot of lessons learned and like steps that we took to get to that point. Even if it sets you up to be able to do $10,000, $5,000, $1,000 sales in a day, then that's awesome too. And I'm also going to share with you the unexpected fallout my partner and I had that we really were not expecting. Crazy at the time, and it ended up even crazier later on. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video to find out what happened to us. First things first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like. It helps me get feedback to know what kind of content and stories you guys want to hear more about. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. So I want to be clear about a couple of things right off the bat. Number one, I hope it's obvious, but this wasn't all profit. This was the top line gross sales number. The overall profit margin ended up being around 35%, which is still pretty awesome, or at least it should have been 35% if we hadn't made a few key mistakes, which I'm going to get into in a second. And anyone who says that their Shopify sales or tries to imply that their Shopify sales are 100% profit, they're just lying to you. Don't trust those kind of people. The other thing is that this was not our first attempt at this. There was a lot of errors that went into getting to this point. This is obviously not typical, but like there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it regardless. A couple of years ago, I was living in a house with a group of other e-commerce entrepreneurs. We were all running brands together, and my business partner and I, and this is what we did to validate ideas rather than like just invest in a ton of inventory or that kind of thing. We would launch a basic store like debut theme, like as simple as it gets. We would make a logo in Canva and then come up with some product ideas, put them up on the store, and we would do a pre-sale and tell people like this is a pre-launch or pre-sale. We're running a discount, 15-20% off. All orders will ship out in like 45 to 60 days. Even after people purchased, we would email them and say like, as a reminder, your product's not going to ship for like 2 months. If you're not okay with that, just click here. We'll refund you, no problem. The way that our pre-sale model worked is that we would have all these different ideas of stores or brands that we were going to test, and then we would test them out and see how they would perform. And you would pick like different niches or like products that you thought would do well, build like debut themes for them. Simplest Shopify theme possible. Make like logos in Canva, buy the domain. Domain's like $12. Canva's like $100 a year for pro. You use that across all of them. And then you just either do Alibaba, like import all the products into your store, or you hire like a designer for any like print on demand work that you need, $100 off of Fiverr. And then just from that, you have a store that's up and running and ready to test. And you do that 10 times, that's $1,000, maybe like a handful of hours per store. Once you have that, then you can start running test traffic to them. And you drive test traffic by creating a Facebook ad account, put in literally just the pictures of the products as your ad creative. We had one set of ad copy, like pre-sale, like 15 or 20% discount that we used across all of them. So like ad copy is pretty much the same. Then we just use the pictures of the products, launch them in ads, and see what performed well. You'll be shocked at the night and day difference that you will see immediately right off the bat. Products that are going to end up being winners to products that are going to end up being losers. Primarily around like the engagement that you'll see. Like if it's a product that people are like really interested in and like has the potential to go viral eventually, normally not the same week, you'll be getting like likes, comments, shares right out of the gate. But if it's a product that's probably going to be a dud, you won't see any of that. There's only so many different types of creatives and stuff that you can make about a product. You can make marginal improvements, but the product is what's really going to sell at the end of the day. This method works super well. We were planning to spend like $1,000 on ads, and then we either kill it or scale it. I woke up, the ads were at like a 4.3, and when that happens, that's like crazy results. You just start like ramping up the budget, see if this thing can actually scale. The only problem was that I had a vacation planned in Mexico with my girlfriend. This thing seemed like it was about to start to take off, but I didn't realize how much it was going to. By the time I got to Mexico, it was like the second or third day, and things were just going crazy. Every time that I would double the budgets, the ROAS seemed to like continue to go up. So we just kept doubling them. In the end, our budgets were up to like $30,000 a day. At the time, I didn't know about like VPNs and stuff, which is like basically how you make it look like you're logging in from a different location. But anyway, Facebook doesn't like to see that you're logging in from out of the country. So I couldn't log in from my own laptop. So I had to remote desktop into my partner's laptop. And when you do that, especially on a crappy like Mexico connection, there's a lag. So like as I would try to move the cursor to update ad budgets, there'd be like a 4-second lag, and then it would click. And then I would enter the number that I wanted the new budget to be. There'd be like a 4-second lag, and then it would update. Every time I'm refreshing the page, the amount spent is jumping up by like 1,000. We spent 2,000, then 2,700, then 3,500, and then $5,000. And like every lag, it felt like was $1,000. And so I'm in my hotel room, like apologizing to my girlfriend, like we couldn't go do, normal vacation stuff because I had to sit there just like refreshing. By the third or fourth day, we did $130,000 in sales, somewhere over 6 figures. Fourth or fifth day, we did over $200,000. The pre-sale model can only go so far. This was like the best case of it, but like when ads are doing well, like you never really want to shut them off because it's very difficult to replicate that or get it back to that same point that it was at before. So we wanted to let it go, like run as far as we could. It started to go pretty far. So by the last day, we made the toughest decision we ever had to, which was to shut off the ads. We had one post that was like really carrying the entire account. It was going extremely viral. It was like 30 or 40,000 likes, like 10, 15,000 shares and comments. It was crazy for only being like a few days in. But we made the hard decision to turn off the ads. And the reason we did that was that as we were looking into fulfilling the products, really building out the supply chain, some of the original quotes we had gotten from suppliers, they seemed like a little shady or like too good to be true. So we started really looking into it deeper. And it turned out that like a lot of the suppliers we were talking to for our best-selling product, which we had already sold like 30,000 of, that product was going to be extremely difficult to make. When we really got them down to brass tacks, they were like, yeah, we don't know if we can make this at all. And if we can, it's either going to be extremely expensive or it's going to take forever. And so that was the thing that really drove our decision to turn off the ads. Excruciating to do when it's like printing money like that. It was the right call. Fast forward like a month afterwards, we were still trying to fulfill the orders, working with suppliers to hopefully get the orders in within the pre-sale. A lot of customers were starting to get restless. We had a policy of like, if you don't want to wait, like we will refund you. We weren't going to ever be one of those like sketchy drop shipping stores that refuses to give people refunds. That's just like not how I want to do business. So we were giving out refunds hand over fist. By the time that we finally got all of the products into our warehouse and we got all the orders out the door, finally put everything to bed, I think our total refund count was at about $120,000, a large majority of the profit. That was like the fallout that we ended up having. Now the takeaways from this story for myself and for anybody watching, what allowed us to get to this point, to have this on the sales side, a huge success. On the supply chain side, huge nightmare. We had structured our business in a way that allowed us to continue to get at bats. Like we had probably tested about a dozen different stores before we had found this winner, but we had done it in such a way that we were able to keep on swinging. Like we were able to invest like $100, $500, $1,000 into each store to test and validate it, and then only double down on the winners. Whereas a lot of people, they structure their business as like, this has got to work. Like this has got to be the one. If this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. When you do that, it's just putting yourself in a bad spot, like financially, strategically. Set up your business in a way that like you can try it out. If it works, great. If not, you put it to bed and you move on to the next thing. And you have like a separation from the idea so that it doesn't feel like, you're married to it and it has to work. Otherwise, your whole world's going to come crashing down. The second lesson learned was obviously on the supply chain side to not let a pre-sale run that way. We never did it again after that, especially to that extent. But it's tough, like when, emotions running high, you have that kind of sales coming in. In hindsight, what we could have done differently is at the very least vetted the supply chain fully to make sure that the products were able to be fulfilled in a meaningful amount of time. At the end of the day, luckily, we were in a position that we were able to just refund anybody who wasn't happy. The only people that ended up really paying the price were us. You either win or you learn. A great lesson learned from me was that great marketing can't sell a terrible product, but a great product can be sold by terrible marketing. And so realizing like all other variables constant, it really does come down to the product. That's why we started using this pre-sale model. It's worked wonders to allow us to test extremely quickly and then iterate on the top performers and then cut the losers. Very valuable lesson learned out of the whole thing, and a fun story to tell. So anyway, if you like this kind of content and you want to follow along for more, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video so I know to make more stuff like this. You can head over to my website, chrisheckman.org. We've got giveaways and stuff like that. There's no courses or anything to sell you. It's everything completely for free. Everything from templates to SOPs to whatever you can imagine. I even made like a flow chart showing like how I think about launching an e-commerce brand and doing this pre-sale model. So go check it out. It's chrisheckman.org. And leave a comment below if you have any questions, but I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.